So what if I told you that the very high probability formation that we were talking about here not failing didn't actually fail, and the lows that we experienced here were actually mitigated by the means of, well, maybe BTC, right? So we're not looking at this BTC low coming in at around this target of 112,062 with 48 cents, which, by the way, we spoke about right over here in this video, right? An epic you don't want to miss, saying here happened within maybe 2 to 3 days that we could approach this, we could reach this target down here of 112, and pointing at that blue line there, right, guys? So specifically, I'm really talking about 2 days here, right? So if that is the case, then we kind of scooch ourselves over to that chart of BTC here, and we can see that maybe this was the low that we had to reach here in order for us to bounce on XRP, and things also like XLM reaching kind of the lows that we talked about down here as well. So that's also very curious that we ended up getting some of those downsides here. Now also, what if I told you that there is an inverse reactive ticker, so a ticker that moves inverse to BTC, that can potentially tell us that there could be a massive buy frenzy coming in pretty soon? And that, of course, would be the Tether dominance USDT that is presently set on a gigantic head and shoulders. Since, by the way, of course, now we know that all of a sudden, right, literally all of a sudden, we have this, we have the head and shoulders working out, right, with literally no volume or nothing, and then it still fell. No volume or no participants or nothing, it still fell. So now that we know that cryptocurrency, is using the head and shoulders formation, well, then what the heck? We should probably consider this monthly head and shoulders here for USDT for a huge drop on this, right? All the way down to the deepest depths of hell. Let's go ahead and find out if that's at all a possibility here for us, right, guys? But welcome back to the channel, everybody. Please do me the favor, hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, do everything necessary to get this thing to live long, thrive, and survive. This is Arca. I am coming at you at 1:28 a.m. on this beautiful Sunday, August 3rd. And let's go ahead and get the analysis started here for XRP, guys, because I do have some things to show you. Yeah, you know what? The targets that we kind of looked at down here, guys, these are not the ones that we actually put up in the analysis thread. These are targets that are saying that should we fail the area of 273 before a bounce of resistance, right? And should we fail that, well, there's going to be another bounce at 265, resistance bound at 273, and continuation into two very focused areas, right? So which would be this here. I'm not saying we're going there. I'm getting you prepared should that be the case, okay? So now, if we kind of go towards the other screen here and take a look at what's going on here, well, I do like the fact that we're actually recovering, right? This is kind of like a sine wave here. This is your equal reactive move. And that means that there could be still downside to face should it be that we come back up to that 290 target that we spoke about still, right? And validate that resistance, because we at this point here, price action on the 2-hour time frame is really close to these top sides here, right? So that can absolutely add pressure to continuation to the downside. But for now, this is an equal move here, and there could be a reason for us to break to that upside, but that's going to be based on sentiment around everything, literally everything around crypto. Of course, we are here to face a little bit of resistance because there's high confluence, right? The targets there for BTC are rhyming pretty heavily here with the other 12-hour bars. So this is telling me that there's still the probability of getting this formation to work out pretty nicely, since it does have a huge hit rate. Okay, so but what about that? But what about this head and shoulders? Do you think this would be done? Well, it's curious that it would be done at the targets that are massively inflected here. I mean, they're massive inflections is what I'm saying. So if it is the fact that we can go there, well, do we have anything to kind of, you know what, here's the thing, man. I don't know why I didn't kind of enforce this with you guys here, but this is your alpha LITE algorithm. It told us right down here that we had this massive target at around 216, 218 to buy, and this thing had to sell that position at 316. and it was completely dismissed. I'm gonna start considering this 12-hour time frame on Alpha Lite here, guys. If you want to go ahead and pick this up, and just go ahead and look in the description below. It's there for a fairly low price, guys, and it could be yours for forever, right? Just go ahead and email arcabulls@gmail.com your TradingView username and your proof of purchase here, and I'll go ahead and enable this forever for you. So here's another thing, guys. The targets that we figured here were in the beginners charting and trading mentorship. They started asking me questions about XRP, so of course I came up with this, and I explained the potentials here as this was dropping. So if you haven't enrolled just yet, it's not too late. Make sure to get yourself enrolled. It's $100 for a 9-week program with me, okay, live. So we're going to be repeating the first week again on Thursday, so make sure to get on that as soon as humanly possible. Okay, guys, claim your seats. So now that we kind of reached here kind of an understanding over what's happening here dynamically, well, what could we say about that huge bearish signal that I spoke about, right? Well, you're over there talking like Arca, but you just said that there could be a gigantic, I mean, massive sized head and shoulders on that Tether dominance thing that I'm not really understanding what it is, right? So why don't you just go ahead and explain it to us? Well, I will do that for you. Let's go ahead and take a look at that right now, guys. Okay, so this is your Tether dominance chart. So what I have here is actually BTC, just like this, right? So I'm labeling here for you. So this is your USDT, right? USDTD. So this is Tether dominance. So what it's telling you is that it's giving you the inverse correlation to Bitcoin. So this ticker here can be used for weaknesses historically, right? We can see pivots that can absolutely display to us areas that we can find as support for bounces, areas that we can find as resistance for rejections, all kinds of stuff. So if we are seeing that this is an inverse correlation on the USDT compared to your BTC, well, that would be essentially telling us that, number one, yes, we are completely inside of this gigantic head and shoulders formation that historically leads to a massive downside. So how does this work, though? Well, USDT is a stable coin. This is what you do when, some people use USDC as well. It's also inverse BTC. So the dominance chart. So what happens is that you go into USDT, right? You're going to transfer some funds into whatever platform, and you transfer over some funds to then switch it to a dollar pegged asset, right? So that's going to be your USDT. So you get $1 and you receive $1 of USDT, and then you can go ahead and play the markets with it. So that that relationship means that when people are depositing or receiving massive amounts of USDT, well, USDT tends to inflate. Now, in turn, that means that also there could be a deflationary period for cryptocurrency. So that means that as people maybe are fearful, right, or something seriously dire is happening or whatever, then that could be weakness on your BTC asset, which then would actually show an exit, right? So people are going to start leaving their position. They're going to say, oh my God, I'm scared. I don't want to lose all my money. So they get out of their positions, and that in turn inflates USDT. Right. So then when people feel, greedy or whatever, and when people feel that like buying frenzy, so then they start to, exit their liquidity into buying another asset. And then, that's your USDT dropping. And then that's your risk on crypto assets rising. So this is a really cool kind of relationship here, because now what's happening is that we are built around this crazy formation here that's historically incredibly bearish, and that could give us an absolute drop here, right? Like, for example, this could be a loss of 4.37% Tether dominance all the way down to 1.37. Mind you, we are looking at this on your 3-month chart. So this is going to take some time. This is your quarterly chart here. It is going to take its time, but I mean, it's overall, this is telling me that we are potentially at the precipice here of experiencing the biggest buying frenzy that we've seen in cryptocurrency since the beginning. I don't know. And that could also show that maybe the targets of 137,000 Bitcoin of my initial call out last year, maybe that's too shy. Maybe this Bitcoin is set to go above 200,000 in the next year or within the next year. So that puts us at a really interesting situation, because now that enables $6 to $10, $12 in XRP. Holy crap. Well, is that even possible? Of course. You just have to look in the at the end of this video. You're going to see that video that comes up. I'll go ahead and start explaining to you how that's possible. So here's the thing, guys. We are potentially resisting at this place here at around 290. That's fine, right? That's fine. It's just happening at an area. I mean, we're rising here when we said specifically this. Make sure to remember, okay, guys? Your 4-day time frame. Let's go ahead and take a look at that. I think maybe, yeah, your 5-day time frame. Sorry. Okay, so your 5-day time frame is at 15 hours and 23 minutes, 35 seconds, and counting to close. Now, you guys remember that when you approach the average time, you tend to decompress to the 50% of that bar. So that means that what I mean here, the weekly time frame is also 15 hours and 23. Now also the bi-weekly is also 15 hours, and I mean we can go all the way up to the freaking 15 week, and it's at 15 hours and 23 minutes to doing its little thing. So the 50% of the 15 week, because it was upside, so then it comes back down. So that's curiously enough around the 265, which is a target that we talked about a little earlier. But that could also be correlated to the 273. But remember that the massive resistance here that we're facing soon is the 290 on XRP. We still have to beat that. We have to combat that. Remember how hard we bounced, guys. When we were observing this, when we were playing XRP, I must remind you that I was telling you guys that there is a massive amount of support that I don't think we're going to be able to beat or be able to crash below at the area of 290. And what happened? We went to 290, 289 and bounced 17 cents to the upside, or 16 cents. So know that, guys, okay? Know that. That is a critical inflection, and we are headed right towards that, right? We need the 289 and your 290 to be completely beat here, okay, guys? So if that's not the case, if that's not going to happen here, then the probabilities of dropping into your 265s start to become a little more relevant, okay? The lowest area of liquidity that I can find is based on this chart right over here. I need you to remember that 248.06 to 250.92 and 257.56 to the better part of around 260.77 on a liquidity pocket overall here, okay, guys? So that's currently what I'm seeing here. But if we're going to just go ahead and focus on volatility, because XRP is kind of like, one of the big boys here, then let's go ahead and do that. Let's just see what it has in, let's just see what it has, right? And that's, it's all good. So for the 5-minute time frame, of course, we're looking at this downside here, right? So that's it, but it's contractive. So not many participants on that downside. Let's continue. We have this downside on a 10-minute time frame validated, but this one has a little more expansion, so that could mean that it's starting to kind of accelerate to the downside here, right? So here is your 15-minute time frame, definitely accelerating, right? From a critical contractive level here, we're getting that acceleration, that expansion, right? And we're getting the direction bias from momentum suggesting downside. Okay, now here's the next time frame here. Okay, great. So if we are looking at a 20-minute time frame now, this is absolutely accelerating and showing us that there could be 20 minutes of continuous downside. We're about to open up a new 20-minute bar there in 45 seconds, which is going to be able to give us the average amount of drop should it be that we continue from the 20-minute time frame. Of course, you're going to face a little bit of an upside here to validate your 286.48 or slightly beyond that. I'll go ahead and put a little bit of an alert there should it happen quickly, and we'll get a little notification or something on the bottom left. Of course, I'm there. You're not going to be able to see it, but it does show continuation to the downside and very likely going to expand more with further downside. Let's see where it stops. 30-minute time frame has 20 minutes to close, and it does have a shooting star formation on top, which leads to further downside. Okay, great. So now what about your hourly? So the hourly time frame still has 20 minutes to go. A little bit of a shooting star here. Could it be that the hourly time frame is on this bullish run and it's retracing to the 30 to 50% prior bar? Well, it probably is, but we still have to resist maybe around that area of 286.50, continue to the downside to where the 50% of that hourly bar is around 285, and then maybe we can continue. Okay, so let's go ahead and take a look at that hourly time frame, because we need this pivot to be completely to the upside to determine how much downside we have. Okay, so not there yet. Here. So 3-hour time frame over in 19. My goodness, check this out. It is over in 19 minutes and 28 seconds and counting. The 3-hour bar usually retraces to its 50%, roughly around 15 minutes, 9 minutes, 7 minutes, around there. It starts to retrace to the 50% of that bar. So where is the 50% of that 3-hour bar? Well, magically speaking, didn't we just say something about 285 right before this? Well, yeah, we did. Okay, so that's presently where it's coming from too. So the 3-hour bar though, take a look at this acceleration. Take a look at that massive green bar here and look at the direction. So that means that we only have around 3 hours of downside. So let's count that. That's 7 cents to the downside from wherever we open this bar. So I'm assuming that we may open this bar somewhere around that 286. So that means that if 286 or maybe even 287 reach here, we only have about 7 cents to come down. So if we're looking at maybe the 280 zone, where is the 280 on 7 cents? Yeah, from the 3-hour close. So 280 would be right down here, which means it's giving you this target of around 280.245 to around that 280 with a center bound at this pivot here. We just talked about that area being the zone that we need to validate for support, guys. So remember, I was telling you that it's a whole bunch of steps, right? We just broke out of this right here, right? We need to come back up. We need to come back and kind of validate that. Let me see if I can find a great middle ground here. Maybe the hourly time frame, right? There you go. So yeah, we just broke out of this area here, right? We need to literally come back up, come back and test it, and continue towards the upside. So that's your 3-hour time frame giving you that probability. So now if 3 hours, that's where the upside starts. Okay, so if the upside starts at 3 hours, that means that entry conditions may actually be around that. Let's just kind of mark it down here. I would say the better part of around 281, 281.69 to just about. I mean, sure, why not? Let's keep that there. 282.68. Okay, cool. So what does that mean? Well, it means that we probably have another closure coming up somewhere, maybe. And could it be that we're just retracing because of the retracements of other bars? Well, yeah. Remember, guys, we have the weekly closing. And we also have the bi-weekly closing and also the 15-week. So the 15-week has that 285 at the 15%, right? The 285 is at the 50%. So that's another rhyme that you're getting there, right? Really cool stuff. Okay, so now let's just mark off that entry condition, and that'll be it, right? So if we have that entry condition down there at, and then we'll continue the upside targets, right? So if we have that entry condition here, 282.68 to 281.69, where's the upside? Where are we going? So 3-hour time frame, that's where your upside officially starts, because we're about to close this awesome looking bar in 16 minutes, and it is displaying huge upside with expansion. So 4-hour time frame, we just opened that, by the way. And what is the 4-hour time frame doing? Well, of course, it just opened maybe 45 minutes ago, and it's retracing to the 50% of its bar. Now, where is the 50% of that 4-hour time frame? Let's go ahead and find out. Well, magically speaking, 284. Nice. Okay, rhyming pretty nicely. 6-hour time frame continues to the upside here, and it opened up around just a little under 3 hours ago, and it's accelerating towards that upside. Now, this one didn't even retrace 50%, guys. So that's telling you that we're still throttling towards the upside here in even 6 hours. 8-hour time frame, acceleration, and this opened up just around 45 minutes ago too. Now, 30% of this bar would be located around 284. But should we continue to the downside even further, what is the 50% of the 8-hour bar? This is where you're going to kind of be like, okay, well, this is making sense. Check it out. The target is 279.83. We just said 280 was going to be the retracement, and where are our entries? Well, our entries are sitting right around the 281. So statistically speaking, this is making a lot of sense too, since we just got that 8-hour open. What about the 12-hour time frame? Does that show upside? Or does the 80, does the 8, okay, we need these moving averages to be face down in order for us to determine how much upside we have. So 12-hour time frame, still pivoted up, still expanding, right? Very, very worrisome, because this is a red bar and a bunch of red bars. So it could be that we're 50% retracing of that prior 12, but it's still pivoted upward though. And we have 3 hours to go. Anything can happen there. Daily time frame still, for some reason, has an upside here. Okay, that's curious. Let's continue. By daily time frame, I'm gonna just go ahead and maybe stop. I mean, this kink here is not convincing enough. Okay, there we go. So your 3-day time frame. This is the one that I think we're gonna end up using here. So, okay, and if that's the case, we have 3 days of upside coming in from the opening of the 3-day time. So that would be around 30 cents, 29.7. So if really that's what we're facing here, guys, that means that from the opening of the bar is here at 295. 295 would actually reach 30 cents further to the upside, putting you to a current ATR top of 325. This is indicating that we may have already experienced a low, and we've maybe found the floor, and this could be the recovery time. Now, let me get myself out of here because it looks like these targets are getting incredibly close to what we were actually waiting for, right? We're waiting for this resistance here where we said we would go up to and resist and then come back down. Well, it seems as though your more immediate short-term time frame could be in a repair mode here pretty soon. So we're going to be bouncing here from a support to see if we can catch ourselves just a little bit higher into that area here of around 286. Not completely guaranteed, but we're at this inflection right there. Okay, guys. So let's go ahead and find out, guys. So now you know the targets. You know what could be happening here, guys. Potential topside targets of around 325 are still still viable here. But I want to just go ahead and let you know that that 325 target was where? Well, we already had it there, didn't we? We already had it right here, 324.88 from the breakout of this very well-known formation. Damn, dude, that's incredible how sometimes all the math kind of makes sense. Well, I hope this does make sense to you guys. I hope that I can explain and teach you guys even further in the master's course. So make sure to enroll, guys, right away and get yourselves into that before the next course starts. Okay, guys. So I think this is a pretty good place to leave off. If any questions, you reach out to me. Okay, team. Thank you very much, and we'll talk very, very scary Jerry soon. All right, team. Adios, and yeah. Adios. Please take whatever I do show and iterate within these videos as just a form of entertainment, as I cannot suggest for you to buy, sell, or hold any assets whatsoever. Ever, 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 ever. I need you to do your own due diligence and everything will be cool. But with that said, I wish you well, a very, very good rest of your night and or day, and I will catch you at the bell on Monday. Adios, team.